The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers or Rogers TV.
Welcome to Health Matters. I'm your host, Dr. Lana Marconi. On today's show, we're going to explore a variety of health topics threaded together by energy. First up is dirty electricity, next is Chinese nutrition, and then Qigong. Kindly welcome my first guest, Dr. Sabina DeVita, right from the DeVita Wellness Center here in Brampton. Welcome, Dr. Sabina. How are you?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm fantastic, thank
Wonderful.
you. Electromagnetic pollution, it's a concern for everybody.
It certainly is.
Generally, what is it?
Well, electromagnetic pollution is a term that is given for the amount of frequency disturbances that are coming forth from a lot of what we use every day, such as our computers, our cell phones, the cell towers, the Wi-Fi, every electrical system that we use in the home, be it hair dryers, stoves, fridges, etc. They do give off a field, and that field is very disturbing to our own natural energy system.
Frank Glegg, I believe his name is, he was in Vitality magazine this month, and he was the former CEO of Microsoft, now turned advocate for radiation safety in the wireless industry, and he says that people are noticing a link between their health decline and Wi-Fi. Rashes, irregular heartbeats, headaches, and disturbances in learning. And he says that electrosensitivities are not an allergy that we're born with, but rather something that builds up to long time exposure to radiation. What symptoms do you see?
Absolutely, and there are far more symptoms and much more severe than what he certainly mentions, one of them being cancer. Going back to rashes, I've seen this in my own practice over and over again, and I've actually indicated to many of my clients just to switch off, turn off their wireless outlets, or not outlets, but their switches, and if they can do that. And many of them who have literally cleared up many of their rashes, headaches, dizziness, and even swelling, throat swelling, feeling like there's constant cold, etc. But the symptoms, again, are so varied, and I really would like to just talk a little bit about one of the research studies that was done by Dr. George Carlo that goes back way back in the 1990s.
And how it splits our DNA.
Exactly. And what he basically saw, and you know, he was working for one of the cell phone companies. He was working for the industry. And what was so fascinating was that when he started to, he was asked, would you please investigate and really show us that cell phones are safe? Well, what happened was the opposite. He found that, in fact, it was dangerous, and that it also interrupted pacemakers. This was one of his findings. And he also found that it disrupted, and of course, with the DNA, it interfered with and actually damaged, and it just literally split the DNA. And these are markers of cancer. When it's found in the body. So with that, of course, he published his report, and the cell phone technology company did not like that. But he then did go on his own and continue to, of course, write his book. And there have been a number of other researchers, such as Dr. Sam Milham. And I do like to mention his work because he wrote the book called Dirty Electricity. And dirty electricity, he basically, and he's easily found on internet these days, and many of these researchers are. Dr. Deborah Davis is another one who certainly has pointed out the dangers, cancer that has increased, brain tumors in particular. We're seeing more tumors. There's particular acoustic neuromas that have been found.
Research shows it actually lowers sperm count.
Absolutely,
in men,
yes.
And that's
infertility
with the cell phone, and it's also linked to brain tumors. And people who are living near towers, the microwave towers, patients who are living near those have an increase in suicide rates.
That's
depression and mental illness. Oh, and people who have the heavy metals in their brains, in the amalgam tooth fillings, those are little micro antennas for concentrating the receptivity of EMF fields. So FYI, get those amalgams out of your mouth.
Absolutely. That is so very, very, very true. You know, it's really interesting because in my book that I wrote many, many years ago, so much of this information is still pertinent today.
And we're giving away a copy.
Yes, yes.
Folks at home, if you'd like a copy of Dr. Sabina DeVita's book, Electromagnetic Pollution, send me an email at giveaway@drlana.com.
Well, what's interesting, at the time that I was writing this book, there was a researcher that did a study with monkeys that exposed these monkeys to a specific frequency, 60 hertz frequency of electromagnetics, pollutant, and what he found was that it disturbed the neurotransmitters, in particular serotonin and dopamine. And when they were taken out of the environment, the dopamine actually did come back to normal, but the serotonin levels did not. Now, serotonin in particular is very fascinating because if it stays below normal, it leads to suicide. And you just mentioned that that's one of the symptoms.
Interesting.
It is interesting.
Yeah. What did you bring on the table?
Well, what I did was, you know, one other thing before I talk about what I brought. I have these, but I wanted to mention one key thing, and that is right now in Toronto, because since we're in Toronto, the Women's College Hospital has for the very first time now teaching doctors how to detect symptoms of exposure to wireless radiation.
Nice.
Isn't that awesome?
Nice. Well, World Health Organization, you know, told doctors 3 years ago to, you know, of the dangers of EMF.
Exactly, and I do have that report because they actually are saying that it's one of the causes of, and particularly a very strong cause of brain tumors. And what's happening at the Toronto Women's College Hospital, they're now interested in teaching doctors how to actually see or identify these particular symptoms, and these are some of them: disrupted sleep, headaches, nausea, dizziness, heart palpitations, memory problems, and skin rashes, as you mentioned earlier.
Sabina, we have less than a minute left.
Oh my goodness, I would love to say that we do have some answers, and one of them is a technology that was formulated by Dr. Karim in the area of what's called biogeometry.
What is it?
And it basically, this is one tool from another company.
You're wearing it?
I'm wearing one right here.
And it helps
it helps to neutralize the impact of electromagnetic pollutants, and it also helped to then create a resonance in my body that's beneficial.
Oh, it so strengthens your cells.
It strengthens my own system.
Your systems.
Absolutely, and there are a number of them. These are all different devices created by Dr. Karim in the area of biogeometry.
And they're very fashionable, and I'm sure people can
very
learn
easy.
more.
They can.
In this
I know
book,
we have such
and
a
go
short
to your
time.
website. Hey, thank you so much for being here. I know it's always
Roger.
short, always a
It
pleasure,
is.
though. We'll be back more on health matters and Chinese nutrition. Come back.